still lots of questions about where is the reprocessed material. We don't know. Our own people say we don't know. But then let's say this whole issue about we destroyed the nuclear facilities, especially the one at Fordo. Let me show you something here. This is the satellite imagery. This is before and after the strike. This right here is the before strike, and then this right here is afterwards. Okay, so this is the Fordo plant. So you see here, this is the bomb intercept. This is what's alleged. There was the 30,000-pound bombs, the GBU-57s we keep talking about here. All you see is two entry points, just two dots in the dirt. I mean, just take a look at it. This is before, no dots in the dirt, and this is after, two dots in the dirt. Interesting that even the above ground facilities, none of them have been hit. The entrances to the tunnels, which I figured would be one of the first targets you take out no matter what, they're not apparently not even hit. So all we did is drop a couple of GBU-57s into the dirt here. Now, how would you know that this straight down is where that facility is? Because the entrances here, you can't really tell the relief here, but this is kind of a small mountain. They call it a mountain. It's a lot of granite rock. I mean, how do you know that wherever the entrances are, and I don't have them marked on this map, but they're somewhere around here. I think there's 4 different entrances that they all lead here, as opposed to, I don't know, here or over here or over here. I mean, how would we know for sure where under the ground those things were anyway? But let's just say that, well, because they talk to IAEA folks, they have really good intelligence, they know that they were actually under here. You cannot tell from this spot here where that bomb went when it went under the ground. You have literally no idea. This thing could have gone 50 feet below the ground and exploded and nothing happened. It could have gone 75 feet, 210 feet, 40 feet. Who knows? Who knows what's going on? As Ted Postal showed you, because of the irregular formations of granite underneath here, this bomb could have gone in one way and then just been deflected over to here. Or this bomb could have come in and been deflected in this direction and then subsequently pummeled, and its penetration power greatly reduced as it goes down. So it may also have not even come close to what was actually where the actual facility was. Was this the location of it, of the facility underground? Was it somewhere over here, over here, over here? We don't know. And I doubt that anybody knows with a great deal of confidence. But no matter what, we have no earthly idea whether that actually went into the ground and whether it actually blew up in there. So we're claiming that we know that it was destroyed, and we have no such knowledge whatsoever. And so when your basic policy is off the assumption that this worked and you have no idea if it worked or not, that by itself is a red flag. Because if you say, yes, it happened and it didn't, then you have not stopped anything of the Iranian nuclear capacity, if the material was in there at all. We'll have to talk more on that in just a second. But the thing continues on here, because now Vice President Vance says that all of our objectives are met, Israel's objectives are met, based on this assumptions that we can't validate. But anyway, here's what he said.
The president's been extremely clear about America's national objective here. It is to create a world where Iran cannot build a nuclear weapon. We, of course, destroyed the nuclear program that they had, and the president told the entire team, we're going to work to make sure that they don't try to rebuild that nuclear capability in the future. For Israel, think about this. They've accomplished an important military objective. They've helped us destroy the Iranian nuclear program. They've also destroyed the conventional missile capability of Iran that threatened the country of Israel. For the Iranians, I think this is a new opportunity to actually pursue the path of peace. As I said yesterday, what the Iranians have showed through their support of terror networks, through their now failed effort to build a nuclear weapon, is that they're just not very good at war. And I actually think when we look back, we will say the 12-day war was an important reset moment for the entire region.
Yeah, I have a bad feeling that video right there is going to come back to haunt the vice president, that he's already declared this is a 12-day war, over, finished. I think that they said, hey, the 6-day war in, what was it, 1967 or the 1973, I can't recall right offhand, but the 6-day war, yeah, so it's going to be a nice, tidy start stop. I see no evidence of that at all. So just on its surface of that. But then the other thing here is America's objectives were accomplished. We have, of course, obviously, he said, destroyed Iran's nuclear capacity. As I just showed you from the satellite imagery, we have literally no idea what happened to those missiles after they went on the ground. So don't count your chickens before they're hatched. If the missiles were even in there, if the reprocessed material was in there, or if it had been taken out, if it's somewhere else, if the centrifuges are somewhere else, we don't know. Actually, the IAEA officer, I keep mentioning him, he claims that if these missiles went in there and did what they're intended to do, he thinks it would have caused a lot of trouble.
Even the explosive payload utilized and the extreme vibration sensitive nature of centrifuges, very significant damage is to have occurred.
Well, I think he should have said there significant damage would have occurred if that bomb hit the target, if it penetrated all the way down there, and if it exploded as designed. Even he has no idea. Until somebody has been done inside that facility, only then can you make declarative statements. Until that time, all you can make is suggestions. But that matches up with what we want to believe. So on this particular case, we'll believe them. But we won't believe those same IAEA inspectors when they said there was no nuclear plant. So again, you see this selective claim that we don't seem to really care what the actual evidence is. We just care about a narrative. And we seem to be really good at carrying out these narratives. But the other thing that he said in that particular clip there was that Israel has accomplished its objectives and remarkable, and it has, quote, past tense, destroyed the Iranian long-range missile. They have done nothing of the kind. They have clearly damaged it and reduced it. They've taken out a number of launchers, but very clearly also they have not destroyed it, because the Iranians continue to launch missiles even as recently as yesterday. Actually, they launched one this morning. It's unclear if that was a ceasefire violation or what that was all about. Apparently didn't hit anything important, but it went out this morning. All of that tells you that Iran definitely has the capacity to continue with its long-range missiles. They talked about how that was basically their one defense deterrent right now that can keep their enemies at bay. There is zero chance that they would ever negotiate that away as any kind of negotiated settlement like Lindsey Graham seems to want. He wants total submission and surrender. There's no way in God's earth they're going to surrender to that. So that begs the question, then what? If they don't do as you ask with Trump's golfing buddy, then what's he going to do? Is he going to say, well, okay, other than what we think may have happened under the ground, we have no earthly idea what happened to, I think it's like 400 kilograms of reprocessed material. Just don't know where it's at. Don't know what happened to it. Don't know what happened under the ground, but okay, we'll just call it a day and say, yeah, we did it. So then what you're saying is that we're going to hope that what we claim happened did, but it may not have. And I think it's probably likely it didn't happen the way we think, that we definitely did not destroy their ability to reprocess plutonium, which of course leaves the path open to the potential that they could race to a bomb at some point. And now we just want to unilaterally declare there's a ceasefire and just like the war is over here. I mean, you see, this makes no sense at all. I mean, even from our alleged claims, this is not going to help anything. You can pretend that it's over. You can pretend the long-range missile threat is over. You can pretend that the nuclear capacity is destroyed, but there's no evidence to suggest that's the case. And there is lots of evidence to suggest the opposite is the case. And then now, are we just going to restart it again later when we want to? I mean, you see where this is going. There's some real problems here. Well, let's go back to that interview with J.D. Vance, because one other thing he claims again is that something that directly contradicts what Tulsi Gabbard had said, and he seems to be here agreeing with Benjamin Netanyahu.
I think he's threaded the needle quite well here. We had a very particular objective. It was profound and difficult to accomplish. Do you think the elimination of the Iranian nuclear program, and I think the president successfully did that. Brett, they were very close to a nuclear weapon. And what I'd encourage my fellow Americans to think about here is that a week ago, the Iranians were quite close to achieving a nuclear weapon. Now they cannot build a nuclear weapon. We have destroyed the Iranian nuclear program. 0 Americans have died. That's an amazing, amazing thing. Americans, whether Democrats or Republicans, we should be celebrating that.
You know what, there's nothing to be celebrating here, because you don't have any knowledge. You just have hope. So why would you want to set yourself up to a situation like that to where it wouldn't be very hard to expose that you were wrong? I.e., if you start attacking them again, they have nuclear weapons. They have long-range missiles, which they can clearly use at desire. So that would put at lie the whole claim that you had destroyed. And again, the worst case scenario here is that we have pushed them into a position where they can covertly actually produce a bomb because of all the material that they had and wherever they may have these centrifuges now. Even I don't know that. It is possible that they got them because I can't validate that they didn't. But to assume that they have lost that capacity is a very, very poor thing to do. And again, you have given them every incentive to do that. So we'll see what ends up happening with that. But then, you go on to claim that they were close to having a bomb. Again, this directly repudiates what your director of national intelligence said on March 25th. She said they categorically do not have a nuclear weapons program, and the Ayatollah has not declared them to have one. Period. Categorically. That's the same thing the IAEA guy said too, just days ago. And now then you're claiming, because that's what Benjamin Netanyahu said, oh, they were very close to having a bomb. And then, oddly enough, Tulsi Gabbard now seems to be trying to backpedal and saying, oh, yeah, they were really close. Only that's not what her testimony said on the 25th of March. What she said was they have the capacity to do that. And that's what everybody has been saying for a long time. That's different than saying they have done it now or that they are close because they're going toward that path. Benjamin Netanyahu clearly said just a couple of days ago that, no, they were there already. They had already started the process. And that's why we had to act. I saw him comment where he made that this morning. And that is in complete contradiction to what our intelligence assessment said, i.e., et cetera. But now then you have the vice president seeming also to go along with the president and ignoring what the U.S. intelligence agency said, not just Tulsi Gabbard personally, but the U.S. intelligence assessments, and clinging to what Benjamin Netanyahu said. Again, that's not good precedents to set for the United States to seemingly just disregard everything our intel says and accept what somebody else says at face value. There's no reason to do that. And if that's the case, folks, then you have a massive problem with our entire intelligence apparatus. Because if we're all wrong there on all these issues, and then you say the Israelis are right, then what does it tell you about the quality of intelligence that we have on any other issue? If we were so far off on that one, then that tells you can't trust anything we say. Which is it? Because one of those two things is true. It can't be we have a world-class intelligence capacity and we were dead wrong there and these guys were right. They can't both be true. One or the other is not telling the truth here. Maybe neither side. We'll see how that works out later too. But the other thing he said was that Israel itself, when it accepted the ceasefire, said that we've accomplished all of our objectives. But have they really? I mean, let's take a look at what Israel actually said here, because this was what was the date on this? This is the 19th. So this is just 4 or 5 days ago. The Israeli minister says that Khomeini can no longer be allowed to exist, because this is when allegedly Iran hit an Israeli hospital, and they claimed that lots of people were killed, or whatever, in this heinous, terrible thing, and so therefore Khomeini can no longer be allowed to exist, and so it's got to be a regime change situation. Well, now all of a sudden you have Netanyahu saying, this is just earlier today, just before we made this the video today, that Israel has achieved all its objectives against Iran. It said Netanyahu met his cabinet along with ministers of defense, the head of the Mossad last night, to report that Israel had achieved all of the objectives of Operation Rising Lion and much more, they seem to add. And, quote, Israel has removed the dual immediate existential threat, both in the nuclear and ballistic missile fields, the statement said. The Israeli military added, quote, achieved full air control over Tehran skies, inflicted severe damage to the military leadership, and destroyed dozens of central Iranian government targets, it said. In flight, in light of the achievements of the operation objectives, that in full coordination with President Trump, Israel has agreed to the president's proposal for a bilateral ceasefire. So there you have it, folks, that even Israel is claiming it achieved all these things when there's no evidence that it did. And it's not surprising to me that they agreed to this, because I think Israel needed a ceasefire more than Iran needed a ceasefire, because they were just taking hit after hit after hit all across the country on important military targets, on important research facilities, in the middle of cities, which was causing problems with their population, et cetera. Nothing has been resolved. No issues that led to the war, whether it's the alleged nuclear program for Iran, whether it's the ballistic missiles program for Iran, whether it's what Israel had been doing to Iran and making them unhappy, the reason why they were fighting, et cetera. So you can't have a conflict that's going on, all of a sudden they call a ceasefire when none of the issues have even been addressed, much less resolved to anyone's satisfaction. and then claim that you have peace. You don't have peace. You just have the cessation of hostilities for the moment until things change again.
Israel says that Iran violated the peace agreement and the ceasefire agreement. Do you believe that Iran is still committed to peace?
Yeah, I do. They violated it, but Israel violated it too.
Are you questioning if Israel is committed?
Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I'd never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
Do you have